All right, guys, welcome to Unleash the Potential. Really excited. So the two guys that are sitting next to me, one taught me everything I know from a movement standpoint, and the other one used to give me a concussion every single time he'd connect with a punch. So it is, I'm really excited. Tom Kennedy was my coach growing up, basically playing hockey. I learned to control my emotions. I understood how to shift my weight, basically bring power to everything that you do, and not allow the size of you to really come back to make you think that that's where the strength is. And then Tom and I had so many battles in the ring and just so much fun going back and forth. That guys, thank you so much for jumping on. We're gonna have some fun today, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But Tom, I'm gonna start with you. So with so I was 10, 11, 12, something like that, coming in meeting you. And my brother was in there, and then there was a couple other guys that were like our main group of guys. How was it for you, like just seeing these kids coming in, no idea how to box, no idea, like how was it from your side of it?
I mean, honestly, man, for me, it was a challenge because one, I had never trained anybody before, so I didn't have any idea how good I was or how bad I was going to be.
He was good.
But what I did know was what I knew, and if I could share that or encourage somebody or teach someone what I knew, then it might be a success for me personally. And taking you guys from where you were, where you guys never had a boxing level in your life. So for me, it started with something as simple as teaching you guys how to make a proper fist before we did anything else.
Right.
And as time progressed, you guys really started to understand what we were doing. And for me, man, it was a pleasure. Especially to take you guys from being completely green to competing in a Philadelphia circuit. Which not many people will go into Philadelphia and do what you guys did. And you guys, you and your brother accomplished that. And for me, man, it just boosts my ego to the stars. So I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's like Tom and I were talking the other day, and one of the things that came up to me was there's two sayings, and I mentioned one, but the other one that I didn't mention was, and I tell this to all the guys that we train in training aspects, is when you step in the ring, you're an animal. But when you step out, modest, humble, and just a gentleman.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the things that you watch a lot of the stuff that's out there, and it's just there's so much like look at me, and I think a lot of times people just forget how important it is to bring that back to where like, yo, when you actually know what you're doing, you don't need to yell and scream and talk about how great you are.
One thing that I was taught as a young kid, and my father was my initial trainer, and the one thing that I was taught when I first started boxing was you don't have to run your mouth and tell people you can fight. People will know you can fight just by the way you carry yourself. You always walk humbly, you carry yourself as a gentleman, and carrying yourself as a gentleman outside of the ring speaks in volumes compared to a lot of the trash that you see in the fight game today. And I take that very personally. And I don't need to tell people I'm a tough guy because I'm really not. Boxing is a form of art. It's the foundation for teaching you how to deal with things in life because it's a very mental game as opposed to physical. So it's something that you will carry on once you're past your competitive years. So yeah, man, I'm just happy to see my students has now become a teacher. That for me that speaks volumes, and I love it. So
no, I mean, listen, it's funny because it's from the movement standpoint, you were such an influence for me on that side of it, and then Mark Vashinan was another guy who from the hockey side of it was a huge influence for me. So it's two people that I've learned so much from, and I was just fortunate to find people like that, right? Where you sit there and you're like, because one of the things I try to tell the guys that I work with is that, listen, it's not about, and Tommy, you and I were talking about this the other day, like, it's not about just, all right, here's how you squat, here's how you push up, here's how you get strong, here's how you get healthy, but it's also it's like a big brother club, and I think that when you're around good influences, you just learn, again, one, deal with emotions, like, because that's the thing, like, one of the things that people talk about with boxing that, from my side of it, is they'll say, and you guys hear it so well, but I'm just saying, man, it's just, all you see is blood and just like, there's just pain, but you get in the ring, and we talked this earlier, there's no better way to learn to control your emotions than in the ring, because the thing is, you don't control your emotions, you're definitely done.
It's like my grandfather used to say, you don't get mad, you don't get angry, get mean, right? Because when you're angry and when you're mad and you're letting your opponent frustrate you, you can't think right.
Right.
So rather than get mad and angry, get mean.
Yeah.
And keep your cool. And that's one thing boxing, it teaches you to keep your composure. And that's one thing I learned from my dad and my grandfather. So.
No, it's, that's my fault.
Well, yeah, the mental.
Just been driving and saying, I'm like,
yeah, it's all
we'll
good.
cover that. No, but I think that's just such a strong piece, because when it comes down to it, when you look at, there's a huge difference, right? There's a huge difference between someone saying, yo, I'm mad right now, because when you're mad, it's kind of like when people do self-defense classes.
Yeah.
They learn all these different moves, and that's great. Like, you look really pretty doing, or like mitts, right?
Right.
You do mitts, and you see this like, oh man, he looks really, really good. The first time you get hit in the face, right? All of a sudden you're like,
I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
yeah. Wait, Tom, Tommy just shared the story. If you can, I'm assuming this is never going to come out that way in this situation, so we're going to bring it up. If you don't mind sharing the story. There was a guy in our gym who was a big boy, big guy in our gym.
Yeah.
And he'd always wrap his arm up and just hit the bag with one hand. And he came to Upper Darby with us that
Polish guy.
weekend.
Yeah. I forget that. Yeah.
So Tommy shared the whole story with me. I didn't get that part. So I remember watching from the side, because I fought earlier, and I remember watching the side and being like, wow, that dude, because in our gym, like, he was the biggest guy in our,
And you look good on the bag.
Right. He looked great on the bag. Bag, you're just like, yo, I don't want to get in front of that. And then all of a sudden, he got in the ring with a guy that was he was bigger than him.
This guy was a beast.
He was a big boy.
This guy was a beast. This guy was a beast. I put that match together because, I worked with that kid for a little bit. He showed some promise, so I figured, okay, he's a heavyweight, and heavyweight is heavyweight. Anything over 190 pounds, you're a heavyweight.
Right.
So I put the match together because on paper their records were even, but he had no heart. He had no heart, and again, once he got hit, he lost his composure, and fear took over.
Right.
And one thing you cannot be in this game, in this world of boxing, you cannot have any fear whatsoever. It's okay to have maybe butterflies,
Right.
Once the first punch is thrown, it's on.
It's game time.
It's on. And all that fear goes out the window. At the end of the day, you're two men in there, and may the best man win.
Right.
What did he say when he came back to the corner?
I asked him. I said, I never forget it. I said, hey man, what's going on out there? Work your jab, throw your right hand, throw your left hook. He's ducking. Come up with the right hand. And he literally told me, I'm scared. I threw the talent. I threw the talent because I'm not going to have anybody, first of all, embarrass themselves, but you're not going to embarrass me as your trainer.
Right.
That's not going to happen. So we cut his amateur career short at that point.
It's just crazy because he did have a record. Like,
Yeah, he did.
So it's not like it was his first time in the ring. It was like,
Yeah.
and you know what? Like, but that's the reason why I know boxing to me is just such a special. It's such a special activity, a competition, bout, whatever you want to use it.
It's unique.
It's unique because it truly develops every single part of it. And you know, we talked a little bit about the emotion part of it because the thing is like, you know, like I was saying, like you can learn, look real pretty, you know, doing all this. But the problem with, you know, when people do self-defense classes is what happens the first time you get hit.
Absolutely.
Right? Because the first time you get hurt, the first time you feel some pressure, like that's when you actually have to be able to stay calm and learn. And that's one of the things I know for me. Like when I met you, like it's funny. I was I can't say Tom. Like I gotta say coach. Like to me, it's just like I gotta say coach.
So good. Hey, listen, I still call my coaches coach when I see them. So I'm in my 60s. And, hey, coach, how you doing? So good, man.
I hesitated there because I'm like,
that's so good, man.
But it was one of the things that, you know, it was, you know, I was always like, you know, from a size standpoint, you know, there was a lot for me. Like I was quick. I had this, I had that, and we just added. So at the time in hockey, when I was playing Pee-wees, it was you start hitting at Pee-wees.
Yeah.
And, you know, all my skill and everything, just, I was scared. I would get out there and I'd be scared because, you know, Pee-wee is one of those ages that's like, I think it comes out, I forget, it's like 12, 13, something like that. But there's guys, the biggest difference between 12 to 14-year-olds, there's guys that are this big and there's guys that are this big.
Oh, yeah.
And it was crazy because when I went to boxing, all of a sudden, I had no fear. Again, not that we could throw hands, right? Because in youth hockey, you're not allowed to throw. Like in juniors, you're allowed to fight, but you're not allowed to throw. But it was actually I'm going off a ton from the tangents, but I can't help it. So there was I think I told you about this. I don't know exactly, but there was we had a basically a festival. So basically, it was a birth year tryout. Okay. So it was the best kids of the birth year. So I was like 13. This was just like a year and a half of me like working with you. And we get out on the ice, and the coach was real old school. So he's basically like, yo, I don't want to see any of the slashing, any of that kind of stuff. You guys have a problem, just drop the gloves and fight. So I grabbed this one dude. First 20 minutes, this guy is coming at me, and I'm like, fuck it. Drop the gloves, grab the dude, start just pounding on him. And I just remember, like, that coach, after that, like it was a fun thing. But it's going back to it. But it was so funny because it just gives you that confidence of just I can handle myself, and you know there's no fear in you don't fear pain or any of that, and you find that deeper gear inside of you where it's just stay calm because I've signed up for this. I'm either gonna go in 100%, or like you might as well stop. Like you said, like throw in the towel. You're done.
Yeah, it's for sure.
Absolutely.
It's for sure, man. You know, one thing that, again, I'm going to refer back to my dad because this is where all this stems from. You know, as a very young man, as a young kid actually, you know, my dad said, "You want to fight? You don't want to. You're not going. I'm not going to teach you or take you to where kids fight. You want to learn to fight? I'm going to take you where people can fight. You know." And I was surrounded by pros, man. You know, guys who were, you know, world-class fighters. You know, I used to go to the gym and watch my father. You know, I was a little boy. You know, I was getting bullied a lot. You know, as a very young kid. And my dad actually came out of retirement while he was in his 20s. Took me down to South Philly with him, past Young Gym. And man, let me tell you something. You talk about some warriors. My dad and another guy, they called him Paji. They would go to war. And what was happening with me, because I looked at my dad as my hero, he was starting to build my confidence. I would see myself through him, you know. And then I understood, you know, and I got to learn and understand that, you know, that guy ain't no better than you. That guy puts his pants on the same way you do, one leg at a time.
Man, you taking some of my flame here.
But literally, that's how we were taught. That's how we were taught. You know, and my dad, you know, turned that on the top.
Yeah.
You know, once I found out that it was too personal for me to train my own son, my dad got involved, and I love him to this day for it. You know, my dad is 82 years old. I ain't messing with him. I'm not messing with him. He can still pop, you know. And he told Tommy everything he knew, and you know now we're passing it on to the younger guys in the family. So believe me, man, this boxing thing is more than just getting in the ring and boxing.
Yeah.
You know, it really molds and shapes your personality. And, you know, some people might take offense to what I'm getting ready to say, but it makes a man out of me.
Yeah.
It makes a man out of me. And it is no getting around that.
Right.
You know, so it is what it is, man. You know. So
No, so it's funny, 2 points on that. One, I never understood what you, because you used to say that to us, like, I don't train Tommy, but my dad trains Tommy, right? And and I remember I didn't understand that back then.
yeah.
I get it now. I get it now.
Yeah.
But I think that was Tommy, you know, you and I'm telling you, man, I loved but also hated getting in the ring with you.
Absolutely.
And like, it was one of those things where like, it just literally felt, I remember every time you connected, you were a year younger than me. So like, I was 13, right? You were 12. And I remember like, we'd get in the ring and it was just, every time you hit, lights went out. I was just like, all right, don't do that again, step. Okay. Don't do that again, step. Like, it was just, like, I loved, because it was like me, you, Ilya, and then there was like, Alex would jump in here and there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Alex was much bigger than us, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would mix up with him a little bit.
Yeah.
But you were, you know, you were actually my first like sparring partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I had been going to the gym since I was a baby, but it was to watch him train. It was never, you know, me getting in the ring. And then when you guys and my dad got together at Worlds, and me and you being so close in age and the same size, you were my first sparring partner. And, you know, same way you just said how I popped you, I get popped too. You know, and that right there, just, you know, working with you guys built the foundation for me. And, you know, like my dad touched on when my grandfather came on board, that was probably, they moved back to Jersey in 2001, so that was around then, maybe 02. He just polished it, and you know, like some of the stuff that my dad, from being my father, wasn't able to give to me, my grandfather was able to tune it. And man, those rounds that I had with you, your brother, and any other guys that were in the gym taught me a lot. You know, like you said, makes you a man, and just the discipline that comes along with it, and being able to get in the ring and stand in front of another guy trying to take your head off. You know, not a huge Tyson fan, but Tyson said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And what do you do when you get punched in the mouth, whether it's in the ring
Right.
or in life?
Yep.
Right. So boxing translates to everything,
Right.
if you ask me, man. And the things that we were able to witness and go through as kids made me who I am today. And, you know, I try to mirror my grandfather and my father when it comes to boxing and what they taught me, and give that to anybody who wants to learn. So that's where I'm at. You know, and I think this all happened for a reason, this podcast right now,
Absolutely.
us reconnecting. And I think what you have going on is truly admirable. It's great, man. And I'm looking forward to mixing it up with you again one day.
Yeah, we know that too. No, that has to happen.
I'll referee.
I don't know, these 75 strong challenge we're doing. I don't know how good I'm not sure how I feel about it. You know?
Look, I'm out of shape right now. You know, I'm out of shape, so.
No,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny because it's you know, so we were younger and like, because we would go, right? But I remember my brother, that was honestly like, the poor guy would come to get his handed to him over and over. And I'm going to tell you, like, you know, my brother won't let me, my brother won't sit on social media. He won't put stuff out. So like,
Okay.
a lot of the people don't know about, like, I talk about my brother all the time, but my brother is someone who I'm very fortunate to have like an older figure like him, because he was just always my like, and it's funny because we would get in and I would just see him, like he'd fight the dude Mike.
Yeah.
And Mike would just wipe the floor with him over and over and over. And the thing is, like, it forced me to realize, like, my brother still doesn't give it up. Like he's going in and
tough.
he's getting beaten.
I'll tell you something, Dean was tough as nails, man. Dean was tough as nails. You know, again, you know, I don't mean to cut you off, man, but that's why I admired you and your brother so much. You guys just had no quit in you whatsoever.
Okay.
None. You know, and that from me, from a coach's standpoint or a trainer standpoint, man, you can't ask for a better student than that.
Yeah.
You know, you're throwing everything at them and they're taking it.
Yeah.
Come on, man, there's something there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And hence, look where you're at today. You know, like I said, you have now become the teacher. You know, and hey, man, that is the biggest reward any coach or trainer would ever want to see from one of his students.
And I think that's what coaches look for in kids. I mean, you had Ilya, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I had Logan over at the other spot.
Yeah.
Now, within 5 minutes of meeting these kids, you know, they're not going to be a fighter.
No.
They're not going to be a world beater, right? They're probably not going to be a very good athlete.
Right.
But what you can respect and how you build a bond with these kids that are like that, it's their willingness to keep coming.
Yeah.
Right? No matter how much the workouts hurt them, no matter how much, you know, aches and pains and how many times they get punched in the mouth, these kids don't quit.
They keep coming.
And if you got an athlete or a student that has that in them, you'll never get tired of working with that kid.
No.
You know what I mean?
I tell you, you know, we laugh about this, you know, when we've talked about this, but Ilya, I'll use him as an example. Ilya came to the gym one day and his mouthpiece got knocked out. He might have been sparring you. I can't remember who he was. But you hit him in the mouth and his tooth came out. And he said, "Oh, there goes my tooth." And I said, "Keep fighting." Keep fighting. You know, you get another tooth. You know, but again, like you said, kept coming back, man.
Yeah.
He wouldn't stop. You know, who am I to say, nah, I don't think this is for you, you know?
Right.
So, hey, man.
Right.
Yeah, I'll never forget that day. But his mother didn't like me too much.
Right. But you know, you did a lot for not just, you know, boxing is more than just, you know, getting in the ring and beating up somebody, right? It teaches you about life, and as a coach, as a trainer, you teach young men and women, you know, to prepare for life. And you know, like with the kids I've had, man, it was so much more than just going to war with each other. It was more, you know, teaching them how to get through certain things, whether it was hygiene. I mean, I've had kids that are, you know, coming 13, 14, going to high school, you know, talking about, you know, girls and, you know, giving them different pointers on how to, because, you know, they're going to talk to you about things they're not going to talk to their parents about.
Right.
And, you know, you bridge that gap. And, you know, I think that with boxing, man, it really molds young men and women into what they end up becoming later in life.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something they can hold on to, and what they learn in discipline. It's just something that, it's one of the sports, man, where there's nothing else like it. Truly nothing else like it.
Well, it's funny. So, like, I told you guys, I did a charity boxing event like a year ago. And the hardest thing about, like, so every other sport, right? You can do a charity event because you can go 50%.
Right.
Boxing is a sport.
There's no half stepping.
No, it's like, well, because the hard part is like you get in there and you don't know what you're up against.
Yeah.
So like you turn it up, you turn it down, but like if you're not ready, like a fun time turns not so fun very quick.
Absolutely.
You can't play boxing.
No, you can't.
play.
You can play football.
Yep.
You can play basketball. You can play hockey.
Yeah.
You can't play boxing.
This is not a video.
No.
Not at all.
And he was telling me, you know, I think it was exhibition, right? And you know, the guy was like, "Oh, we'll go easy," and dude came out and tried to take his head off.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, buddy! You just said we're gonna go easy.
I had that happen to me when I was stationed in Fort Carson, when I was on the boxing team there, fighting All Army. Same thing. We had a smoker one night, and I ended up boxing my sparring partner because we had an A team and a B team, and I was on the A team. So we ended up sparring each other, and we agreed before the fight that it would just be a boxing match. He got serious, man. His boys were all there, and you know, they were cheering him on. And I was really laying back. This guy was trying to take my hand off.
Right.
I stopped him in the third round. I said, man, don't forget, you know. But it's unfortunate, man. But at the same time, this is real.
Right.
You know, this boxing thing, there is no, yeah, let's go light today.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Right.
I really don't know what that is, you know, because somebody's ego is always checked.
Right.
You know, and then when the ego is checked, then the alter ego takes over,
Right.
and you know, it's a battle. You know, so I don't know.
It's a special. I think that's one of the special things that, you know. So it's funny. To this day, alligator push-ups, wrestlers / dive bombers / explosive push-ups. So I throw it out there, and guys to this day, every time I throw an alligator, because we just do like down and back, right? And guys are just like, where do you come up with this stuff? Yo, some of the most fun times, like the change-ups in the workouts every single time, and it was just basic because we didn't use equipment, we didn't do, you know, it was basic stuff. Jumping rope, like Vadim and I, at some point we used to just like, you know, obviously we do it in the ring too. Or actually my favorite thing, there was a gym that I was going to in Philly for a little bit. I'll throw my wraps on and start jumping, and they're just like, why are you wearing your wraps? And I'm like, because Tom said. Because Tom said. Like, I just
Put your wraps on. First thing you
right.
do.
I don't understand.
You're ready to go. You know?
Tom said that's what you do. That's what I'm doing.
I'm sorry, man. I know my ways are a little different than, you know, traditional ways. You know,
I don't
it just
understand.
worked for me, you know.
Listen, I love it.
First thing you do when you train, you put your wraps on.
Right.
I mean, you ain't there to, you know, go strolling in the gym. I mean, you know, this isn't a walk in the park, man. You know.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
No, but that's the thing, right? And it was just like, and so it's funny, like when I watch a kid come in for the first time, and they'll start turning the rope, and it's like 5 jumps, miss, 5 jumps, miss, 5 jumps, miss.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they're just like, I gotta do this for 5 minutes straight. I'm like, just keep turning. Just keep turning.
Turn that rope. And then, you know, another thing I tell my kid, you only gotta get your feet off the ground that much.
Right, that's it.
That's it, man. You don't gotta jump for the ceiling every time. Just get your feet off the ground that much, man.
Just enough to get the rope under you.
But, you met him last week, Braden.
Yes.
So the first time he came in 2 years ago, we started out. He was one of the. I mean, it happens to every single kid that comes in, but it's one of the kids that, like, you know, it was just like, for how long? Now he tries to challenge me on the rope. I'm like,
and then he can skip. So,
Okay.
Yeah, man.
but it's just one of the best things, and I think, you know, we talked a lot about just some of the just development as, you know, finding that deeper strength inside of you from a boxing standpoint. But one of the other parts that I know that's been just an intricate piece of it, and it's understanding how to shift your weight, how to move your body. And like I said to you, it took me about 10 years to realize when you said I'm going to teach you to dance. It took me 10 years to realize you didn't mean dance, you meant box dance.
Yeah.
But it's understanding that movement, right? Because everything in boxing is, when I throw one, it's another weight shift off the other, and then another weight shift off the other, and then it's a pivot, and it's just one of those. It's such a, like, when you watch, like, so like for me, Lomachenko, one of my favorite boxers to watch, just like his movement, and one of the things that he did, right, that they talk about all the time, is that his dad took him out of boxing, and literally just had him, I forget, some kind of dancing or whatever. But that's what sport is. Sport is just being able to move your body powerful. And like, that's one of the things that for boxing is just, it's just such a, there's no better way to understand, to move your body and to create power in every movement than boxing.
Absolutely. You know, we come from very, you know, my family come from very old school philosophy with boxing. And one of the greatest trainers that ever lived was a guy by the name of Georgie Benton out of Philadelphia. And he literally started training guys at the age of 12 years old. This cat went on, they called him the uncrowned champ. He never actually won a world title, but he was the baddest middleweight that ever come through the city. And, you know, essentially through the world. And one of his philosophies was move without moving. You know, and he would teach things like, you know, if you're going to slip a jab, guy throws a jab at you, What's the sense of ducking all the way over here? And you can just do this.
Right.
Jab goes right by you. But now you're in a better position to counter that. You know, because if he's throwing, now something's open. You come back with a right hand. This is the way, unfortunately, that trainers don't train and teach their fighters today. You know, and it's a shame, man, because there's so much. If you want to get into the money aspect of the sport, in the pros, there's so much money out there that is being made today with the guys that can't even fight. You know, if you take a look back at the throwback guys, the Ray Robinsons, the Jake LaMotta's, the Joe Lewis's, the Rocky Marcianos, these guys didn't make that kind of money that they're making today.
Right.
But they had much greater and better talent than a lot of the fighters do today. And you know, and it's a shame how it works in reverse. You know, the talent or the skill or the art isn't taught anymore.
Yeah, majority of boxing is a joke today.
Now it's just, you know, who can look pretty, you know, who has the best robe, who has the best trunks, you know, who can dance the best, who has the best music coming down the aisle approaching the ring. You know, guys can't break an egg, you know, and I'm not ashamed to say that. You know, in order to keep the sport alive, the art form needs to start being taught again. You know, and the only people that can teach it are guys that have been around the game for a long time. You know, and again, it's unfortunate. It's just the way things go. You know, it seems like each generation gets softer and softer. You know, but yeah, man.
Well,
it's
back to the. I don't mean to cut you off, but you know, while we were talking about movement, you know, I want to say right before my grandfather started training me, we took a video of me sparring Illy on like an old recorder, old school, and you know, I thought I was doing something. He thought he was doing something, right? And we Sunday dinner, pop it in while my grandmother's cooking the VCR, and my grandfather hit the roof.
Oh,
He chewed him out. He chewed me out. He said, "That boy can't fight. What you teaching that boy?" Now I remember when he came, he said he was always against me boxing. Right? He never wanted me to box. But when he saw that tape, I'm gonna be at the gym.
I had to take it back.
So,
Absolutely.
and I remember it was probably 2 or 3 weeks before he even let me get in the ring with anybody. Although I had been sparring with you guys for a long time, he said, "No, we're gonna work on the basics, right?" And one of the main things that changed from my dad to my grandfather was movement. I was too stationary. I would stay in front of you guys, and I was getting teed off on. But my grandfather took something, it was just right here, back and forth. More like if you look up, go on YouTube and you look up Joe Frazier, how he moved. He never was still. He's just back and forth, back and forth. And when I was able to pick up that rhythm and able to pop and throw punches off of that movement, it was very hard to catch me. Yeah. And it was the constant movement. I'm not talking about for seconds at a time, I'm talking about the whole round. Just constantly moving back and forth, back and forth. And, you know, and that did so much. Not only that, but then he added the jab was my thing after that. The jab, being able to jab off of that movement. But just being able to constantly move, it wasn't a stationary target anymore. And that did so much for me. Yeah. And I still carry that to this day. But again, like back to your point, boxing, the movement in boxing can translate to any sport. Any sport, man, you know, and it's pivotal to be able to move your body in ways that, you know, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Not awkward, but like different ways. Being able to shift your body weight and to get out the way, and you know, it's just that's something that that truly can carry over into any other sport.
Well, it's true. I mean, I know. Again, when I was in service. One of the first things my dad told me was, you wanna do something in the service? Get on a boxing team. Now, again, I come from a whole family of fighters, so for me, I wanted to duplicate everything that my father and my uncle had done when they were in service. So they were on a boxing team. They were special services. I got on the boxing team. I got the special services, all Army. You know, I lost a fight one time, and I used to video or film a lot of my fights, and I would send them home. I'm overseas. I lost the fight. I sent the fight home to my dad. He critiqued it. A felt about that big when he got done chewing me out when I called home. He said, "Boy, you can't fight." He said, "Whoever taught you how to do that?" And then when I would come home on leave, oh man, we would be in the kitchen, man. My mom would be cooking. My dad said, "Next time you get him up the corner, you do this." You know, and my dad, taught me something very simple that the average guy doesn't know: how to catch a guy on his elbow and push him into your left hook. Man, I didn't know anything about that. I took that back to the team I was on, and I, started doing it. Where'd you learn that from? And they, don't worry about it. But it was just little stuff. Again, moving without moving.
Yeah.
Your best defense is a strong offense. And again, for me, while I learned it, I wasn't really able to teach that to Tommy. I really wasn't able to teach that to you guys. I taught you guys how to be grunts. You know what I mean? But when I brought my dad in, to work with Tommy, I literally forgot that kind of stuff because it was so natural for me to do it. You know what I mean? So, but no, man. But like I said, you guys were just, I taught you how to bang.
Yeah.
That's all. You how to bang.
I was saying earlier, my favorite is in the phone booth. Let's go. Like, it's just, it's one of those things. You get in and it's just, so I guess I'll explain it a little bit. So when you're stepping in with someone and you literally are toe to toe and you're just exchanging shots back to back to back.
No clinching.
Nope, that's it.
No clinching.
Just go. Just go.
The saying that I want to say ain't acceptable. It's about
We
to
can't say that. There is a saying, but we can't say it.
The first one that clinches a choke.
Yeah. We'll do the G-rated version, yeah. But believe it or not, man, especially in the Philadelphia gyms, that was a real saying. The first one that clinches a chump. And we didn't use chump. But that, if you get shook, hey, man, nail it back.
Yep.
It's just the way it is, man. Again, that's the way I was taught. That's all I know, and when I started picking up bad habits from other trainers that I had in the service, my dad corrected that real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And that's, just talk a little bit about Philadelphia. At one point it was the boxing capital of the world, and that's where our grandfather came up, and his uncle taught him.
Yeah.
Lucian Blackwell, who was in the Philadelphia Boxing Hall of Fame. And I know you said you dabbled in a couple Philadelphia gyms as well. But some of the stuff that my grandfather passed on to him and then passed on to me is stuff that you will never see in the boxing world again.
Yeah.
Boxing today is a joke. You got some good fighters, but for the most part, it's a joke. And these guys getting TV time, it's horrible, man. But my grandfather always says that, man, you would see better fights in the gym wars,
Yes, sir.
than you would see on fight night. And we talked about that last week. We were training as kids going 10 rounds, round robin, at least each.
Stop, yep.
Nowadays, you go into the gym, sparring partners aren't trying to hurt each other. And the ones that do, and it's on social media, they're getting, bashed by the world of people that don't know shit about boxing.
Yeah.
And they tell them, oh, you shouldn't be trying to hurt your sparring partner. We're working.
Yeah.
If you ain't getting good work and training, what you gonna look like on fight night?
There's no better place to get knocked out than training.
And what happens in the
Fight
gym
night
stays in the gym.
Exactly.
If I knock you on your ass in the gym, you knock me on my behind in the gym, that stays in the gym.
Because the thing is, like, there's, maybe I'm gonna lose the battle, but I'm gonna win the war, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the mentality of, like, yo, if you have to throw up right now.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get knocked out right now. If, like, the last thing you want to do is show up to fight night and not be 100% ready. And the only way you get ready is, unfortunately,
Exactly.
It's true. It's true.
Exactly. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that boxing has gotten away from. So, but yeah, man. Just thinking about back then. That was the highlight of my week. Trust me. Anytime we go to the gym, man.
Yeah, well, I'm at the point now where I actually I enjoy, just watching the old school stuff on TV.
Right.
I don't really watch the new stuff, but I will put ESPN classes on and I'll watch it all day long, and I'll still yell at the screen, even though I know who won, what the outcome was.
Yeah, and I'm at a point too. Like I'm more of a student now and like a historian. I'll go on YouTube and just watch old fights, man. Just because that's when it was art. Now it's more about the showmanship, right? And I get it. That's how you make money. It's the social media era. But man, you know, old school fighters, man, they come to the ring with a black trunks, a towel over their head, and they coming to go to war. There was no showmanship.
Yeah.
The showmanship was with your hands.
Ruben Hurricane Carter, classic example, carried his own bucket to the ring.
Yes, sir.
You know, and would take your head off.
Right.
You know, the game is different now. The sport of boxing is completely different, and you know, and again, it's unfortunate, man. You know, but that's not to say guys like us can't take it. You know, we can take a young kid and teach him the right way, bring him up the right way, and be a world-class fighter. You know, as long as he has the heart, as long as he has a stick-to-itiveness, so to say. You know, just to stick with it. You know, that may happen.
Right.
That may happen. You know.
Yeah. No, well, Tom, if you want to jump in on this, man, like what? So you know, we've talked a little bit about, you know, putting more of the, because that's one of the things that I know for the hockey players that we work with, it's you know, it's we have a lot of fun, we get a lot of results, but we always have a good time behind it, because honestly, that's one of the things that, again, every time we walked into the gym, it was, I know it's going to be painful today, but it's painful with the people I want it to be, it's going to be painful with, and I'm excited to, like you said, like it was a highlight of your week to come in,
Right.
Same thing, it was just like, people think I'm crazy, because they're like, wait, you're going to go in, you're going to get hit a bunch of times, you're going to be in the ring for 10, 15 rounds straight, like, because I remember Vadim, like, we just wouldn't get out of the ring. He would just stay, like, he would keep him in the ring for, like, non-stop. And just, you know, and to most people it just sounds ridiculous. But, again, like, the biggest thing for us is, you know, we try to create an environment where it's high intensity, but there's so much love and the culture, right? Because that's the biggest piece is
absolutely.
when you walk in and you create that culture, that's something that, you know, we had, and I again, we try to recreate it here for that same thing, because it's, you go to war, it's different when we train in here, but you go to war, but you know that the people you're with are trying to raise you up.
Oh yeah.
And you trust everyone that's there. And, you know, so from a training standpoint, the one thing that, you know, for the younger guys specifically, I mean, the older guys as well, but for the young guys specifically is, I tell every parent, I'm like, yo, there's nothing better for your kid to do than to jump into boxing, because of all the things that we've just stated.
Oh,
throughout the whole
absolutely.
thing.
And that's like, you know, for me, it's not for the faint of heart. And I always tell the parents of the kids I've had, I'm not going to baby your children, but I'm going to build a bond with them, and they're going to enjoy company.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's going to be days where it's a rough session, but we're going to finish on a good note. And the chemistry that we build together, they're going to want to continue to come back. And even like, you know, we would get in the ring and really try to hurt each other, right? I mean, you know, we weren't pulling punches, I'll tell you that. But when we were done, you know, we would hug it out. And look where we're at today, you know what I mean? We hadn't talked in, you know, 17 years, and it's like we picked up right where we left off at. And, you know, it's just that brotherhood that was built many years ago. And again, you know, we were in there and we were trying to dog each other out. And the minute it's done, we touch gloves, we hug it out, and back to work. And always finish on a good note.
Yeah.
You know, and build that confidence in the kids, build that discipline, and make it to where they want to continue to learn and continue to grow.
Let me say this, man. It's a part of life. If you can muster the punishment and the brutality of the sport of boxing, you can hone in on it and start to understand it and make it part of your lifestyle. Once you reach the age to where you can no longer compete, no matter what life throws at you, you still know how to overcome it. You're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna get angry, you know, but at the end of the day, when all the smoke and dust is settled, it's like beating it. I like to say it's like beating the 10 count. You know, you might get knocked down in life. At the end of the day, you get up, you beat that 10 count, you live to fight another day. You get back in that battle, man. You get back in that war because, like you said earlier, you might lose the battle, but the war is what you're striving to win. You know, and as long as you have that mentality, the fighter's mentality, the champion's mentality, you'll overcome every time. I don't care what life throws at you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what, you know, you want to start teaching your young guys now. You know, the kids coming up in the program, you start teaching them that now. You know, incorporate it into the training so that at the end of every session, put the training down, put the boxing down, and just talk to them about, hey, you guys are in school, okay? Respect your teachers. Respect the girls. You just speak to the boys. Respect the girls. Don't dog the girls out. You know, treat the girls like ladies. You know, that means a lot to a young kid. You know, and as life progresses and the time goes on, they'll remember that.
Right.
You know, and ultimately become good people.
Right.
You know, later on in life. So, like I said, it's bigger than just jab, right hand, left hook. It's a whole lot more than that. You know, so.
No, like I said earlier, it's it really is I try to explain to people it's a support system. It's you're consistently learning. Like, when are we not? There's every situation. There's a new person coming in. There's a different way to do it. Things you were doing, you have to adjust. And it's just one of the things that I think it's extremely special. And for me, it's just I told you before, I said it before, a week before you and I connected, I was just talking about to someone who I've been mentioning forever. I'm like, yo, to this day, there's no one that's hit me harder than Tommy. No one that's hit me harder, and that was where it was 13 and 12. Like, to this day, and I've been in the ring a good amount of times, and it's just so funny that the next week you hit me up, and it's just, and I think, I can't say thank you enough, for what you created for us, like creating that culture. Because again, like, it's funny, as I was just talking, stuff just started coming out, but it's the culture that's created, and it starts. Maybe it's not because it takes the people around to actually keep that up.
Absolutely.
But it takes one person to kind of set up a situation where people just love to show up, even if they're getting their head bashed in.
Yeah. Well, man, I'll say this, and I'm gonna leave it alone. God has a way of doing things, of building families, and I'm talking outside of the blood relationships. He put you guys in my life for a reason. You know what I mean? Tommy got into the boxing game because of me and my father. My dad got involved with Tommy, and it just taught me, watching my father work with Tommy, taught me more how to work with you guys. You know what I mean? And as a result, you went on and became a successful business owner. You running facilities. Tommy's successful in his career. I've been successful with what I do. But at the end of the day, God put us all together for a reason. And here we are today, almost 20 years later, talking about how we can build the next generation coming up. Because I was able to reach you guys. Now it's time for you guys to reach and teach.
Right.
You know what I mean? And keep that cycle going. So, again, man, I couldn't be more honored to sit here and be with you today.
Yeah.
When I read your biography the other day, it literally brought tears to my eyes because I had no idea, about that. And the fact that my name was in it, and it literally brought tears to my eyes. And I don't cry, So again, thank you for just having me as your guest today. I love you. I love your brother. I love your pops. Because he made sure that you guys came to the gym prepared all the time. So, hey man, I'm good. I feel like a champ all over again.
It's honestly privilege and an honor. Privilege and an honor, and I'm just excited. Kind of like you said, handing it down. And that's why, like, Tommy, all the stuff that we kind of talked about, like you jumping on and kind of helping on the boxing program. I'm just excited to, basically continue to create, and continue to develop that culture that that we were fortunate to have you know, at that age, because it's such a crucial age of like, listen, like, there's no worse thing out there that I can learn from the cool kid, you know, in my grade,
Right.
or have a proper culture, right, that just says like, no, when you get punched, you get back up, right?
Exactly.
Like, and you actually learn what life is actually about, not what the 12-year-old in school that's cool right now and is the leader right now is saying is cool, you know. And that's something I know that, you know, it's special.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited about what is to come, and it's up from here.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Like last Wednesday, the first session with the young kids, man, it was great. It's definitely something I've missed, and looking forward to the future kids to come.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man, ecstatic, and I'm glad that it all came full circle. We reconnected, and let's get it. Let's get it.
Yes, sir,
So,
Love it.
yes, sir.
My man.
Yeah, man.
And the Dean.
Ah!
See you.